back to the speakers. I wanted to do one of those live little screen things. So, did everyone assign a note taker for your conversations? Yes. And is the note taker going to be the person that's speaking as well? All right. So how about we start? We'll start. Let's say it here. We'll go.
Right.
I see your name.
Sunny.
Sunny. All right, Sunny. He is white.
Okay. Oh, we got to get everything right. Okay, so the tools that we talk about in order to assess trauma is just assessment. And we talk about the adverse cases assessment and how it was originally developed for children and how adults now have access to it. And then we talk about just a general trauma assessment. So paper on a scale from 1 to 5, or just leveling out the effectiveness of how you feel in regards to the questions that are answered. What is missing in the network or toolbox? One of my peers says instead of clinical-based assessments, they're designed a community-based assessment, something that everybody can utilize, not just somebody who's a licensed counselor. And then as it pertains to the general different trauma, what else are we more curious to learn about? My sister Lynette said, just really dig into the effectiveness and the access to assessments, trying to understand, are these assessments actually effective? And are they generally accessible to everyone who needs them? And then, how might we inform this time? So that's what we're talking about.
All right, let's get him in. All right, let's take this back to the mic. Coming up.
Come on, y'all. Represent.
We gotta come over here. We can't hear you.
Hello. Okay, yes, we had a pretty insightful discussion. I think some of the stuff we talked about was the root causes of trauma, and it dealt with the fact that children don't have the best role models. So some of the things that they experience is not being able to express themselves and finding different ways to act out, get more attention. It could be due to a number of things, from mental health services not being available, obviously money and funding, but I think a lot of it does stem from the fact that it comes from places that they don't necessarily know, and not being able to express themselves or having somebody express these things to them is what causes them to repeat it and just keeps that same cycle. So that's it.
I have to get off my phone. Come on up. All right, so I'm going to talk about the tools that we use to assess trauma. And one that I mentioned was the pattern of interactions with families. So whenever we get a family, we can kind of tell, a family dynamic by the way they communicate with one another. Also, asking questions to understand personal experiences, creating a safe space for them, normalizing conversations, and that's it. Just looking to see if there's a And also, one thing we briefly touched on is the physical awareness, because a lot of trauma is sort of defined, so understanding how certain movements can help us release trauma that we have. We need quite get into the next few ones, but as it pertains to the trauma, what else? How might we cover this conversation? How can we address this? I know sometimes it takes one person stepping away from the family dynamic and addressing it by themselves, right? And I think that's the place that I play within my family, stepping away, seeking out the resources, and then addressing it with my family once I feel strong enough and I have that appropriate support. So I think that's really helpful with addressing trauma as well.
Awesome. We're talking about cultural traumas. Talking about culture. So I find it important that in light of that culture, before I begin, I ask permission from the elder to begin. This is indeed after your culture that before we start beginning, you may do ask permission from the elders. Before I begin, do I have permission from any elder in the room to begin?
Professor,
Thank you. All right, so question 1 from Family Core. It reads, what tools do we use to access trauma? Now we have some tools that we utilize in the form of a need and risk assessment. These are jury assessments that are done upon a juvenile's initial intake process into the court system. We utilize motivational conversation. We use continual engagement with the families and informal conversations. These are some of the tools that the courts have used to try to tap into some of those traumas. We're going into our question 2, which is what is missing in our network or our toolbox that can help us address this generational trauma. Even with these tools that we utilize on a regular basis, we truly are able to tap into the most current events, the most current traumas. So the question to answer, or the answer to question 2 would be, we need a toolbox. Right? We need a toolbox that focuses on specifically those generational traumas. We have tools that effectively tap us into what's currently going on in their lives. 3, as it pertains to generational trauma, what else are you curious to learn more about? Family Court table there, we've introduced a couple of things. We want to know how to better engage our colleagues. Those colleagues that are not necessarily familiar with generational trauma, not necessarily familiar with the cultural issues of our particular clientele, our clients. And so, what ways we can better engage them, teach them, grow them within that knowledge. Also, we want to make sure that when we're teaching these specific tools, that we teach an understanding of the importance of having that informed approach, that trauma-informed approach, and also try not to be traumatized, which can be also very dangerous. We'd like to be more informed about, or at least we try to support what our specific goals are. And then the courts, we like to utilize the help of the community as we're trying to build relationships on a daily basis. But a lot of times things get convoluted when stuff hits the fan. Who's doing what, who's not. So being informed and knowing what your role is something that we feel we value moving forward. How do we communicate this to the masses? Right? How do we advertise? How do we market this? What effective ways can we do that where again we're not re-traumatizing and we're really doing what it's needed? And question 4, we will utilize community partners, as we said, working as a team, having that team effort. A great point that we want to highlight as well, things that might help us form the conversation, is understanding how to separate our personal traumas. When we're dealing with uncovering the generational traumas, a lot of times our own personal pains, ills, traumas, what have you, get away. So learning how to cope with those things, learning how to get those out of the way so we can get to working on it. That's what we have. Thank you.
So, just two things really quickly. Those of you who are the note takers, I would love to have your notes. So if you could write your name and your email on there as well. So just in case, if you write like me and it's difficult to read your writing, I'll be able to reach out to you and say, hey, I'm going to scan this and please don't take what this is saying. So I'll be able to do that. And then once we compile all of these responses, we'll send those back out to everyone as well, so that everyone can have access to that. And if you want access to this PowerPoint, it also go out with that information as well, if you want to go to as the next step. So, I just saw that. Excuse my little typo there, because I'm curious when you're right. Dr. Candace Jones is someone who I just discovered as I was doing some research. She's a pediatrician as well as a clinical social worker and has done quite a bit of research and she does some work in Florida on creating a community wellness that is addressing generational trauma as well. And so she talks about the 3 R's. The 3 R's being recognize the symptoms of trauma, resilience, which is the ability to overcome adversity, and then 3 being restore the brain and body through healing practices. So, though we know that there's no real sort of diagnosis for generational trauma, but there are some treatments that people have really identified. Of course, first and foremost is recognizing those symptoms, and then secondly is really seeking professional help, therapy to kind of work through those traumas as well. So let's just talk about that, recognizing and then focusing on those social supports to build the resiliency, and then that restore is really that professional help as well. And then I added, in terms of this breaking the cycle, so I'm always going to have my own flavor of something, which is then sharing, right? Because it's, once you focus on the end on yourself, and then your family, and it's the community as well. So as a community, you really have to begin to focus on that too. So lastly, next steps, if you are not following Ad on social media, please do so. All of our apps are the same. Is that right? And look at our social media directors to make sure. And Ad AAC, that's one of the ways to be able to.
Besides the YouTube.
Say it again?
Besides the YouTube.
Oh yeah, that's right. So besides our YouTube, so we do have a YouTube channel, and it's called Ad Hoc Center for Healing and Justice. And I called it that because we're trying to market our new facility that's going to be coming in the fall of 2025, which is called Ad Hoc Center for Healing and Justice. And that's where a lot of this work, when we get to that place of implementation, that's where a lot of this work is going to take place. And so we'll be able to hold more forums like this in a larger setting as well. So we'll have what we refer to as the innovation space that holds up to 120 people. We can have these conversations on a regular basis and really come up with those assessment tools to do those culture immersion programs as well. So before I close this out, any questions? Any comments? Any affirmations? All right, look at that. Well, let me ask you all this. In terms of, I always like to try to evaluate by at least doing one word. And so, I want to ask you, what's one word that summarizes how you feel leading this meeting today? Just one word. Now I start with Mr. Neal. Informative, okay?
Ditto, informative.
Helpful? Enlightened. Inspiring.
I would say informative as well. I would say the same thing.
I'm satisfied.
Satisfied. Hopeful. Negative. Powerful. Alright. Informational. You have one? Oh, okay. Determined.
Empowered.
Motivated.
Intense.
Committed.
Committed. Grateful.
I'm also motivated.
Well, there's still some questions left. Please, don't forget to grab something. We will be setting a date for another meeting, another community conversation. There's a couple of days that we're looking to confirm. We'll send those out to you, as soon as we get the dates confirmed for venue as well. We're looking at August the 29th and September the 26th as well. So we'll send those dates out, save the dates. Thank you. Rollins